issues quickly. So stop Googling. Have your problem solved right now. Visit getkimshelp.com. It's an affordable way to fix problems with the help from experts who you can trust. GetKimsHelp.com. GetKimsHelp.com.
With America in crisis and lies abounding everywhere, we thought it was a good time to provide the antidote. That's why this radio station partnered with the all-new Salem News Channel. All the hosts you've come to know and trust on this station are right there on TV. Same great lineup, only now you get to watch as well as listen. Download the app on your Apple or Android device. Watch us on Roku or on SalemNewsChannel.com. On the radio, we're right here. On TV, we're right there. SNC is the antidote to the mainstream media. The latest from AccuWeather at the top and bottom of the hour. Only on AM 860, The Answer.
Today will be sunny to partly cloudy, turning less humid in the afternoon. The high will be 86. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 68. Tomorrow, warm with times of clouds and sun, and a high 87. Tuesday, mostly sunny and warm with a high 88. Wednesday, sun and clouds with a high 91. Thursday, some sun with a high 90. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Garrett Beck for AM 860, The Answer.
For everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions about gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am Stan DeFreitas, the dad. James is off. I am here, and this is April the 2nd. So this is a live show today, Sunday. And if you've got a question, you can give us a call, 813-289-1860 or 1-877-969-8600. That's 1-877-969-8600. And they always taught me when I first started in radio, make sure you give those numbers out at least twice. And Ken, you probably can identify with that. 813-289-1860. We are here. Spring is right here, it seems. You see magnolias with their blooms getting ready to do their thing. Gardenias are getting ready to bloom. We see annuals such as petunias and marigolds starting to bloom. If they're in the nursery, they're probably already in bloom, of course. But you can do the same thing. And I'm always amazed that many of our folks that move here from places like, well, Michigan, New York, Ohio, will actually sometimes spend more effort and time in their yard down here than some of us natives. And I think that's because, well, we had it up there. We sometimes have a smaller garden than we had, in the other place that we were in. So we are happy with what we're doing. I did talk with a gentleman the other day who came out from, I think it was Furman Ford. I'll give them a little free plug. And nice gentleman, and he happened to say, hey, he said, my wife had a severe illness, had cancer, and, we weren't sure how things were going. She started a butterfly garden, and because of that, it really seemed to brighten her spirit for life. And that's something I thought I might go over and, mention. I know my neighbor, John, he's a good guy, John and Carol. He says he has a sign in his backyard by his vegetable garden, and he says it's cheaper than therapy. And I think that's true. Sometimes if you go out there and pound on the ground and you see the miracle of life and you see the little plant growing, it just does something good for your heart. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when I see so many different news programs, where the world's going, we're all going to kill each other, and every party, hates each other. It's funny. When I was a kid, we knew some people were Republican, some were Democrat. Didn't seem to matter. Everybody seemed to get along just fine. But in these days, it's like, oh, you're that. Well, I'm not talking to you. And I thought, oh my, have we become so petty that we're going to be upset because someone doesn't believe exactly like, we believe? So that I find to be just a bit weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have Mr. Ken. I don't know if my guest, we were going to have a guy call in from the Furman, but I don't know if he will or not. and he may
Not yet. I got my eyes on the phone.
He may have forgotten. Later on, we're going to have one of my friends, Frank McKinney, I think, is going to call in, and he is a wise soul. You know, you come across folks that you just know are super smart, and Frank is getting a little older, but he's still probably one of the smartest men I know. So we're hoping that Frank will call us a little bit later, or he can call me earlier if he wants. He is just a walking encyclopedia when it comes to chemicals. He worked with rocketry. Kind of reminds me of Doc. You know, you could ask him almost anything, and he probably knows about it. And
a genius, just another, one of those guys. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed with Dr. Bill that comes on after me. You know, you can ask him just about anything, and Dr. Bill will go boom, boom, boom. You know, he can handle almost anything when it comes to history or science, and certainly medicine.
Well, yeah, he's certified in like 8 things, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty darn amazing. So I'm happy to say I planted some marigold seeds that my wife, the lovely Mrs. GT, had saved last year. And so she did the hard work by saving them, putting them in a little plastic bag. And I put some of those out, and they're growing like crazy. And I'm thinking, good, I didn't want to have to go fight at the garden store to go buy some marigolds anyway. But I do think it kind of makes the mailbox area look prettier. But
oh, certainly.
So did you ever send me a picture on that palm?
No, I did not.
All right. Well, you are.
I did not send you a picture, but I did fertilize.
Okay, good. Well, that may take care of the problem in itself. Most people don't fertilize enough. And I'm seeing right now, too, a lot of leaves are dropping on my avocado. It doesn't truly go deciduous and then foliage, but what it's kind of doing, which many of the spring growers do, they're dropping some of the older leaves, and it's called just, senility in the leaf. Old leaves are dropping and new leaves are coming on. And that happens on a lot of especially some of the more tropical plants. They don't have that, like up north, you'd have this total drop everything as soon as you get a hard freeze.
Sure, yeah.
But down here, since we don't ever really get a hard freeze usually, it is one of those things. We're probably past due for a hard freeze, but
well, not this year. I think we've gone.
No, I think we're past that.
I think we're pretty good now.
I'm almost praying for a little bit more cool weather before we go into what I call the furnace time.
Well, that doesn't look like it.
No, I mean next week they're talking. We're going to hit.
We're 90s at the end of this week. Yeah.
Yes, we haven't hit 90s up until now. And having been born here and raised here, and I have seen other parts of the country, so. But I'm always amazed. You could go up to Chicago right now, and they could still be quite cool compared to here.
Well, we've had snow on opening day at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, that's Well, here we have to make sure the air conditioner's set right for Tropicana.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, they were talking about having an open field like you do in most other places, but I thought, I don't know, as much rain as we get in the middle of summer and as hot as it gets, most people don't want to be out unless there's something you can enclose. So even if they have an open stadium, they better be able to close it pretty quickly if they go that route.
Yeah, Milwaukee has one of those. It works pretty well.
Yeah, that might be the ticket here. I don't know where you'd find enough land, though. A lot of times you like to have the parks right near water if you can, which is great, but, I'm not sure how we would do that unless we're going to build a floating city next.
Engineers can do anything.
Well, that's true. That's true. I think they built.
You give them enough money.
just keep. I think off of Okinawa, they actually built an airport, and it was great, but it keeps sinking every year because they put it on this ground that really wasn't meant to carry this much. It was basically an artificial, man-made reef, if you will.
Yeah, Hong Kong has the same problem. They built this huge airport on landfill.
On landfill, yeah. And so your foundation is not very good, and set your bedrock. It's one of the nice things about a lot of the things up north is you do have bedrock, and here we have sand. I guess we can pound. There have been times that they've taken pile drivers and pounded, and they've lost
I just kept going.
The concrete just went woof, and they said, well, we don't know what happened because we pounded it down, and then it found a sinkhole, and the last we saw of that big, 80 feet was like never.
Yeah.
So that can happen here on occasion. We are basically on limestone, and
Well, they say if you're building a new house or something like that, it's a good idea to have like a sonogram or whatever they do. They come out and they go over the land to see if there's a sinkhole underneath there.
yeah, it's probably a good idea. And we do have our share of areas where sinkholes can happen.
Isn't this the sinkhole capital of the world, this area? This
Yeah,
region? I think so.
well, that limestone's just not real strong, and where there's water underneath it, and you put a lot of pressure up above, what could go wrong?
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's a problem. Probably if you're in suspicion of that on the property that you're going to buy, and that brings up a good point from a real estate point of view, get it checked. I think we're moving more and more toward that. I think there will be a time, too, that insurance companies are going to say, look, you've got these trees, we want them inspected, and maybe once a year, because if that, 10,000 pounds are hanging over your house and it looks bad and you don't have, and most homeowners wouldn't know. When I go out to look at most homeowners' trees, and I do, I'm an arborist that never carries a chainsaw, I look at the barks, I can find usually there's something going on. Now, maybe it's not necessary for treatment yet, but normally there's something I'm going to point out and say, keep an eye on this, or have me take a look at it again in 6 months to a year.
What kind of signs should the homeowners be looking for?
Well, peeling off of bark, sloughing off of bark, sap coming out of the tree, sawdust coming out of the tree, little holes that look like BB holes, like your neighbor boy might have shot at the tree a bunch.
These are insects?
They're insects. Yeah, they're larval stages of beetles, which are borers, and they're like a little worm type thing. And they have the ability to eat wood, just like, well, kind of like a termite can. They are these borers. We're not talking about John Paul Ringo without Epe. We can't make rock and roll like we used to. Not those beetles. We're talking about the beetles that get into your trees. Yeah, I love to get my beetle imitation in there because it's one I can do fairly good. I like to get Reagan in there when I can too and go, well, as I was talking to Nancy just the other day, that Joe and I are about the same age. So anyway, we will digress back to the borers on trees. You'll see sawdust, you'll see bark coming off trees, and older trees have been around for a long time, probably have been tasted by some borers. What I like, we inject trees with a pesticide. We don't have to spray. In the old days, I used to spray with lindane, which was benzene hexachloride. And I had to put a mask on, and, I looked like I was a spacesuit, ready to head to the moon. And I really didn't feel comfortable using benzene group. They're pretty toxic. And I did, because it worked. I mean, you'd spray the trunk and you'd see the borer waving the white flag as it came out of the hole. Literally. I mean, I used to spray them with lindane and they would die. Anyway, we'll stay with it, and we're going to talk more about that. We'll talk more about chemicals. Why do we have chemicals? We're all chemicals, and I want to mention that as well. If you've got a question about, real estate, you've got a question about gardening, trees, shrubs, veggies, annuals, give me a call, 813-289-1860. Stay with us as the Plant Talk continues.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Broken air conditioner? Keep your home's AC running smoothly all year long with Easy Breezy AC. With thousands of active commercial and residential customers, Easy Breezy AC is Tampa Bay's most trusted HVAC company. Easy Breezy AC cares about those in need. Donate 2 cans of food and receive $20 off a $79 service call. Go to EasyBreezyAC.com and use promo code GreenThumb for an additional $10 off your service call. Call 727-856-HVAC. Life's hard. Comfort's not.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-696-6902. 800-696-6902. 800-696-6902. That's 800-696-6902.
It's a Prosperity Minute with Greg Ellie and the Prosperity Group in Sarasota.
This is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group. Are you concerned about inflation? Do you see gas prices rising? Do you see grocery prices rising? If you're a retiree, do you have the type of income that's not only guaranteed, but that will increase based on returns? If you want to learn how to create an increasing income, pension-like income for you and your spouse, then give me a call and I'll show you strategies that'll add double digits to your account day one and create this pension-like income.
Safe money strategies from the Prosperity Group include retirement planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate and legacy planning. The Prosperity Group online at mymoneyissafe.com or call 800-440-0434. That's mymoneyissafe.com or call 800-440-0434. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And James is off, but I am here, and I've been doing the Mr. Greenthumb thing for a good long time. I did the show Florida Gardening for a long time. I did the Mr. Greenthumb show on PBS for about 12 years, and of course, a number of seasons. I worked with Jack Harris at Channel 13, and also at Channel 8 when he went there. And we won't go into that too much. But Jack, of course, is a great guy, and everybody loves him in Tampa Bay. And I consider him one of my true radio buddies and friends and pals. And so we all love Jack, and we here at the station do too. So let us mention to you that if you have a question, comment, we're going to have hopefully another one of our first caller, I guess, didn't, but that's okay. He was basically said, hey, I want to get this story in. Oh, do we have someone here online? I don't see it online there yet. Do we have, who do we have? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right, so if you want to be that person on the line, we have some lines open, and that means you can hit the 1-877-969-8600. That's 1-877-969-8600, or 813 if you're local, anywhere in Tampa Bay, 813-289-1860, 813-289-1860, and so that would make it easy for all with your question or comment, whatever it may be. We are talking a little bit about spring is sprung and chemicals. I was going to say, we're all chemicals. I gave a program one time, and a lady got up and she goes, "You're one of those chemical people." And I said, "Well, we're all chemical." We work under electric synapses, but we are, we're elements, and we use oxygen, and we give out carbon dioxide, and we use calcium, and we use nitrogen only as protein. We use carbohydrates, and we use fats. And one of the problems, of course, we have often is that we're taking in too many carbos and too many fats. We probably need more protein. And
You calling me fat, Stan?
just a little, but it doesn't mean we don't love you. Just
too many pizzas, Stan?
Well, I'm always thinking that too. When you get tired on a Friday night, you go, what would be easy? Pizza. And I've got to say, everybody loves pizza. So
Actually, for me, it's a Lenten thing because I can't have any meat. So
you have lentils.
I have cheese pizza. That's right.
Cheese pizza. Okay, well, that works good. I mean, there's different things that people can have, like cauliflower base and things of that nature that you could do. And
but it's not as good as pizza.
Or mushrooms. You could get one of those.
Oh, you can put mushrooms on there, onions, all kinds of things.
Yeah, you could do
that
all
are
kinds of things.
meat-based.
It doesn't have to be meat-based. And probably, actually, most of us should cut back on our meat-based anyway. And now, thank God for the high price of meat. They're doing that for us. So they're really doing us a favor. They've made things so expensive that, you go, well, I don't know. And I know I don't eat nearly as much red meat as I used to. Probably a good thing. I know when I was in Tampa General, I lost about 50 pounds. And part of that, I said, part of it's hospital food. And the dietitian went, "Nah." And I looked at her, I said, well, one day they served me broccoli, and it was all stems. And I said, look, I'm not too good not to, to eat some stems, but the part we eat, I'm a horticulturist, and the part we eat is called the floret, the top part. And she said, well, that's what my vendor brought me. And I said, well, then I'd fire that vendor, and I would, give somebody proper food. I said, no, I guess the stems have more, they'll have a lot of stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat some stems. I eat some of the stems when I make broccoli regularly. I'll usually get about 3 or 4, inches of the other part. And you cook it well, it's fine. But I do like the floret part with a little bit of butter on there and a little bit of pepper or a little bit of cheese. And
see, it's the butter and cheese that you
probably
should not put on there if you're trying to lose weight anyway.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, I always figure I'll just put a little, just enough for flavor. But yeah, you're right. If you can get used to it, and you can, to cut back on that, cut back on the salts, cut back on the sugars. Those are 2 things that I think Americans do. And I notice when I'm out eating, I see a lot of folks doing that. And we all do that. I mean, I lost a lot of weight in the hospital, and part of it was probably just a lack of movement. So you get into atrophying the muscles, which you lose weight, but that's not very healthy. When you get out, you feel like you've been to the moon, and it's very weak. Now, I think I've gained some of that back, but, there's reasons that I can't go out and run anymore and do some of the activities I used to do.
Well, who can, Stan?
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, part of that. One of my heroes just died a year or 2 ago named Bill Graham, and I really liked Bill. He was a retired colonel, and he and I would co-captain tennis teams, and we did that for about 30 years with USTA. Either he would be the captain, all ourselves co-captains. And anyway, what was great is that we would, he was out there in his early 80s, and he was still playing a pretty good game of tennis. I mean, not probably like he did when he was 25 or 30, but he was still holding his own. And he was kind of one of the heroes that I looked for, that I wanted to be more like. And, unfortunately, he passed. And I think, he told me one time that I guess he'd been on a ship where they blew up one of the atolls. And on that atoll, they were blowing it up back in 19-whatever.
So a nuclear test?
Nuclear test, yeah. And he said, I was close enough that we could see it with the goggles. And I said, well, you're probably too damn close.
Yeah.
He said, but no one really knew exactly how far you should be away. They had ideas, and
That's why they were doing all these tests.
These tests, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad, certainly glad that a lot of that stuff has stopped. But remember, even up to, not too far in the distant past, a lot of people were still testing different nuclear devices underground and other places, and some of that would get up into the air. And I've kept thinking, that's not necessarily something we need spreading around the world. It's happened here before when meteors and stuff hit. I was reading an article the other day.
It's happened at 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl as well.
Well, it did. Yeah, and they had not exactly a nuclear explosion, but
in Chernobyl, it came pretty close.
Yeah, it was a melt through, and I guess over in Russia they actually had kind of a sort of an explosion because it blew the dome off.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was bad.
So we've had some issues, but
yes,
I still think once a year, live on television, worldwide, we blow one of these things up. Just to remind people what they can do to a piece of land. We'll pick an atoll somewhere.
Well,
we love to pick atolls, don't we, and destroy them.
You'll have to run that by Bill, Dr. Bill, and see what he thinks. That's an interesting question to run by him. I would ask my brother, worked as a nuclear safety specialist, and I was always asking him. I said, "How come we're buying the Russian spent, fuel?" And he goes, "Well, we're afraid who they might sell it to. They might send it to somebody who doesn't like us, and they might, have a dirty bomb that they'd blow up in the middle of Tampa Bay. And you probably, wouldn't be like having a nuclear warhead, but it wouldn't be nice." So anyway, we're here. If you want to give us a call, the number is 1-877-969-8600 or 813-289-1860. That's 813-289-1860. And we will talk with you on the other side of the news. So stay with us as the plant talk and real estate talk continues here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Did you know that Stan DeFrida's Mr. Green Thumb can come to your house and examine your plants, trees, and palms? His knowledge can help you become the envy of your neighborhood with lush, green, healthy trees that don't just live, but thrive. Palms and oak trees are part of what makes Florida a beautiful place to live, but they get diseases and are often cut down. We offer ways to save your trees. Call or text Stan today at 727-423-4794 or go online to AskMrGreenthumb.com. That's AskMrGreenthumb.com.
AM 860, The Answer. Listen on our website, theanswertampa.com. 7 FM, W229DJ Dunedin. By downloading the Answer Tampa app or on TuneIn or Odyssey. The latest from the Answer News Center. AM 860, The Answer. Online at theanswertampa.com. 860, The Answer.
No girl wants to have a plain ring or something that she sees on all of her other friends' hand.
Meet Kelly Todd at International Diamond Center.
The ability to find a ring that is a reflection of her style, it makes a big difference.
And at IDC, that's easy, with diamonds in every shape and every size in stock, and literally thousands of designer rings. The possibilities are endless.
Whether it's an oval solitaire with stackable bands, a rose gold mounting with a square diamond in it, and a white gold stackable band with it, being being able to identify with their look where they have their own style, I think is very important.
So don't make her compromise. Whatever your budget, IDC has the ability to help you create that one-of-a-kind ring.
We cater to clients with a $1,500 budget. We cater to clients with a $2.3 million budget.
And with non-commissioned experts who listen and guide you every step of the way, it's easy to create the ring of her dreams at IDC.
It's not a selling environment at all.
International Diamond Center in Tampa, Clearwater, and Lakeland.
You listen to this radio station for truth at a time when truth is an endangered species. Now, we want to invite you to listen to our sister TV network, Salem News Channel. You'll find us in the App Store or online at salemnewschannel.com or on Roku or similar devices. You'll see Hugh Hewitt in the morning, followed by Mike Gallagher. You'll see Dennis Prager, followed by Sebastian Gorka. And at 5 Eastern Time, our newest star, Andrew Wilkow, with Dinesh D'Souza at 7 Eastern. Salem News Channel, the antidote to the mainstream media.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And James, of course, is off, but I am here, and I was going to talk about chemicals, and that is that we all are chemicals. Calcium for bones and things of that nature, and teeth. Nitrogen, or protein, we use as one of our main building blocks for building our cells, especially for muscle. And it's one of the things that can help you when you're trying to lose weight. And most of us are. When I look at America, most of us are bigger than we want to be. And I say I lost a lot of weight, not because I necessarily wanted to, but it didn't hurt. I wasn't unhappy about that. The way I lost it wasn't necessarily the way I wanted to do it. But I always try to look for the silver lining of any cloud, So,
yeah, you got to sometimes.
I'd been very athletic most of my life, and I said for an oldster, I was one of the more athletic guys I knew. But, I ran, I played tennis, I did martial arts, I did a lot of different things. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink much. Well, sometimes I probably overdrank a little bit of beer, a little bit of wine or something. But I wasn't a big drinker like some people I've seen in my life, even some family members. So I tried to live the good life, but you can still have problems. The old adage, you're not getting out of this world alive. And a lot of folks are going to have to go through troubles and pains. Heart disease is the number one killer in the country. You might know that your heart's going to beat about 100,000 times in the next 24 hours. And it's not something we think about. It's the one muscle that you have to have working all the time. And when you increase the size of yourself, you're increasing the problem on your heart. And it makes basic sense. I think in the old days, you couldn't have all kind of prepackaged food. I mean, even when you were a kid, Ken, or when I was a kid, there was some prepackaged food, but it wasn't half the aisles on half the half the stores.
Everything is prepackaged.
Yes, everything today is in a package, and we all like ease. We all like fast. When you were a kid and I was a kid, there weren't microwaves, at least not that we had to avail ourselves to. I think the first time I saw a microwave was at a 7-Eleven or something. And
yeah, probably the same. I don't think I really had one till the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, till I became an adult. And now we think we have to have it in our home. It's like,
now waiting 30 seconds takes too long.
Yeah, well, look at that. And I sometimes look at that too. Go, look at that. I'm going to put that coffee back in for a second time because it didn't get quite hot enough.
We've gotten lazy.
Yeah, I guess that's we should be out. In the old days, people were growing their own food, and it took a lot of work, and they harvested their own food, and they had to tend to the earth, tend to their animals, and it was a different time and being. I think sometimes the happiest I am is when I am looking at my plants. I'm looking at the little flowers coming up. When I am harvesting I harvested a nice little head of lettuce the other day, and I said, great, this would be $3 at Publix. I can grow it for a lot less. and my head of lettuce was, it's 18 inches tall. So,
It's a time thing, though, with, I think, today's families. You got both mom and dad working. Remember, when mom was not working, that was a whole different story.
I guess that
for preparing dinners and things like that and the time it takes to actually cook a meal.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right. I mean, you had people would be cooking and baking, and that seemed to be, it was a different time and era. I don't know. Sometimes I miss those times because it seemed like, you had your news and you had Walter Cronkite. You didn't have everybody kind of saying our side's totally right. And we all know probably neither side is totally right. But, when people come
nobody's
out,
right all the
people
time.
will come out and go, oh, we're 110% right. They're 110% wrong. And I'm going, yeah, doubt it. And it isn't, it's just not true. But people will tell you that. And the same thing with, I think it's just taking, breathing the air, breathe in, breathe out, try to do some of those things. And of course we can say, well, we don't have the time. Well, you can make time. Do you have time to read? People say, well, I don't have time to read. Well, make time to read.
We all need to go back to Mayberry, if you know what I mean.
I do. Well, and I still watch that show.
So do I.
And I look at that, and I think I saw one the other day that I don't think I had seen in 30 years. And I was happy and amazed that there was a Andy Mayberry that I hadn't seen, because normally you look at it and you go, yep, seen that. I know what's going to happen next.
I have one daughter who's in her mid-20s, and she never saw it until she walked in one day, and I was watching this show. And now she's like hooked on it.
Well, yes, it's great. Yeah. And they had good virtues. And, you only had one criminal, and he was Otis, and he was locked himself up in the cell. So, but times were good. If you had some really person, somebody was bad, they were probably trying to make Barney look bad with his one bullet that he couldn't get out of his top pocket.
But that's what we need, more America like that. At least in my opinion. Anyway.
I think it'd be hard to fight that for sure. But, it was a different time and different era.
Maybe we're heading back that way. Did you hear the Kim Commando feature this morning when she was talking about
phones?
I did
hear that. Yes, you're talking about phones.
She was talking about dumb phones. People are going back to dumb phones. They're feeling overloaded by social media and the news feeds that they get all the time, all these notifications. So they're going back to dumb phones.
Well, it makes sense to a point. I mean, I look at Facebook probably more than I should. I look at some of these sites, but I don't take it too much to heart. I mean, you'll see this and this and this, and then I'll look at some of the podcasts that are on. But sometimes I'll be looking at a podcast and the news is on. So I may be looking at podcasts, listening to something entertaining or something that I think has more value than the news. So, in the old days, we'd say, oh, well, Walter Cronkite's on, so we're going to get right in front of the TV.
It's all you had. You had Walter. You had three choices, basically, and that was it.
Yeah. In fact, I did a little show on PBS back then, evening show on Channel 3, PBS, and it was a simple little show. We was 3-camera in studio, and we would shoot some stuff, some roll segments occasionally outside, but mostly it was pretty much a three-camera shot inside, and it was simple. But we had good ratings. We'd often beat, we would usually lose to one of the major channels, but we would often beat 2 out of 3. And that was pretty darn good for PBS back then.
Still is.
Yeah, I would say I don't think they're doing it today.
I don't think so, no.
It's funny. I called PBS because I thought, I've got all the equipment. I could probably do a show for them now and actually produce my own show. And I thought, well, maybe they'll give me a call back. And what kills me is that you'll get people who won't even call you back, and PBS people didn't, and that kind of hacked me off. I haven't gone to one of their board meetings yet, but I'm thinking about it someday. Come in and just tell them what I think's wrong with PBS locally.
Well, leave Sesame Street alone.
I'll leave. Yeah, actually, people always ask me. Some lady asked me the other day, "Did you know Captain Kangaroo?" I said, "Of course, I grew up with Captain Kangaroo." Well, you're not Mr. Green Jeans. I said, "No," but but I did meet the captain over at Channel 3 at PBS. He was in doing some kind of thing, producing. They were producing some kind of, I think, a promo thing for his show. And he always had great value with Mr. Green Jeans and Mr. Clock and that whole routine. I remember being a youngster and watching that, and thought it was good then. And I thought it was great to shake hands with Bob when he was when he came into the studio.
But everything you're talking about is regulated by the FCC.
Sure.
Everything you've been talking about, on-air broadcasting. Do you think the problem is that cable and the internet isn't more restricted by the government in what their content can be?
Could be, because you can see almost anything.
Well, you can, yeah.
On that. And that, I don't know. I mean, there will be proponents for free speech that say you should be able to see what you want. On the other hand, people should be probably in charge of what their children see. But then again, we have a lot of homes where parents are absentee, as you were talking about parents having both parents work.
Yeah, true.
So that's also a problem that...
well, does the government have to take that position then and step in? I mean...
Well, that's a good question. And that could be, I guess, a debatable question. How far should government go? I mean, I saw somebody the other day, actually, one of my relatives said, he made a spoof about me. Mary Martin gets arrested for playing Peter Pan. And I thought, well, that's not quite the same thing as what we're talking about. But okay, if you want to make something...
That's a little bit of a stretch.
That's like on the other side of the moon and going, well, it's this side of the moon. I said, I didn't even respond because I thought it was so out of touch that I didn't respond to, but I wanted to. So I guess I am responding to that right now because I think that is just, one of the most ludicrous analogies you could make.
It really is kind of silly.
But, and I'm not going to get into politics, but I certainly think there should be freedom for people to say pretty much what they want to say, but it should be on all sides. And I think the problem we have today is we want to restrict a lot of things. Where does free speech begin and end? And what can you say? If something's the truth, then it's not slander. If it's the truth, but when you get into politics, Katie bars the door. You can say pretty much anything you want, and most of the things that either side say about each other isn't true or not totally true. There's partial truths.
So where's the line, right? Exactly.
Yeah, that I don't know, and I'm not sure that's something that you can exactly legislate. You can say bad things about Putin over in Russia, and you'll wind up missing. Yeah, so we don't want to get to that stage here that, you can't say bad things about somebody. On the other hand, it looks to me like we've become totally politically weaponized. Some of our services, like the FBI and stuff, that wasn't the intent of what their job is, to get into helping one side or the other. And that the problem is that could be used both ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it shouldn't.
And it
be
has
used.
been over the years.
And it has been. Yeah. So it shouldn't be. And that's not the role of their job. And I don't think they should be spending any of our taxpayer money on trying to censor people on either side. And that apparently is happening, or has happened, and probably happened on both sides. And that means you got too much money. So maybe somebody should be watching over the hen house a little bit closer, in my opine. But spring is here, and you said you fertilized your palms. Good.
I did, all 3 of them.
Good on you. That's great. Most people should. Most people don't.
I didn't know I was supposed to. I talked to you. See?
Most people don't do much of that. We often when we inject trees, we almost always put some nutrients into the tree because half the battle is getting that tree healthier. And I'll actually inject nutrients right into the phloem and try to get that up through the tree, phloem and xylem tissue, so that we can make it healthier.
Well, they look happier since I put the fertilizer on.
No doubt about it. Will you stay with us as the Plant Talk Real Estate Talk continues right here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online, aflre.com.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside, in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
I'd like you to imagine for a moment you're at yet another new school. When a teacher stops you from leaving class until everyone's gone, she tells you, you won't be going home for a while. It's not safe there anymore. And some people are here to take you somewhere else to stay. Sadly, this is a reality for more than 1,000 children and teens every month that enter Florida's foster system, which is why we need just as many Florida families to become foster families right now. That teen, separated from everything she knows, has an urgent need to feel safe and secure. But imagine your family can give her the stability and nurture she needs until she can be safely reunited with her family. If you can imagine that, please apply today to become a Florida foster family. Foster training and licensing are free. Visit allprodad.com/foster for more information.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFritas.
And if you've got a real estate problem or question, remember my son James. He is a great young man, and you like him because you hear him on the air. You trust him. You hear him on the air. And he is knowledgeable. So we just got through working with a lady with a condo. Things went successful. I'll say successful once the closing happens. But yes, I would say 99% we're at the stage where it should go through. Hopefully that's not I'll knock on wood here. Knock on my head just a tad. We will say that if you've got some questions, you can work with the big name guys, but I personally would rather work with someone like Dream It Real Estate, where we're local, we've been here, we can help, and we are knowledgeable. James and I have about 30 years total experience in real estate. I know you can find a few that have more, no doubt, but it's not like it's our first time just passing the class either. So if there's something there, we've gone through the trials and some of the tribulations that go along with closings. People sometimes say, well, anybody can sell it. Well, you can until there's a problem, and then you need to scramble. And often there will be a last-minute problem. Something can happen, making sure that things go through. Now, if you've got a great closing agent, that helps. A good title company, that is important. Worked with a bunch. We're still probably out there looking somewhat for someone who wants to work with us. We'd like to find someone who wants to advertise with us, who also wants to work with us hand in hand in some of our closings. A lot of times when you're with the big guys, they have a closing agent that they want you to work with. Often they have a closing agent in the office. Unfortunately, one of the places I worked at, the lady goes, I don't want to close here. I don't care if it closes. I said, yeah, but we're like, really big, and we want to put it through here because it puts more money into our company. No, I don't really care. And I thought, oh my. Well, then I realized that she wasn't being paid by any kind of commission. It was just, I get paid an hourly thing or whatever her salary. So she didn't really care if closings occurred or not. And when I had a difficult closing, she really wasn't very helpful. So anyway, those are the things that you find out when you get through. And sometimes going with a big company is not always best. Sometimes it's better to find someone who's going to cross the T's and dot the I's and make sure the closing agent is someone who makes sure all those problems are checked. And you, of course, if you're an agent, and I know there's agents out there that listen to our show, that's very important for you to make sure that you have somebody that can make sure those details are handled. I would also say in real estate, it is a people business. You have to know, like, and trust the agent you're working with, and you should. You want to make sure that you have a property. I recommend that every property is inspected, even before you put your bid out. The time to inspect usually is before you place down your earnest money, because in many contracts, after a very short period of time, you will lose some of your earnest money if you don't. Now, I know the way things have been in the last year, you often jumped at it and people were buying properties even without inspections, because if you didn't, you lost the deal. And after you lose, people would lose like 7 or 8 deals to somebody who was a cash buyer. They'd go, well, maybe I better be ready to pull the trigger. So it's one of the things I mentioned to a lot of folks. If you're a first-time buyer, you need to really, get your money lined up, and don't wait. Don't put your nose against the glass of the car. Go get your financing first, how you're going to do it, and then go from there. Because if you don't, you're probably going to find out you may lose to a cash buyer, because people like cash is king. They like to know there's not any problems down the road. So those are some things you might look at. Inspecting the roof is one of the more important things. Checking the plumbing, checking, the structure. Is it a wood structure? Probably, if it's a wood structure, it's probably had some termites at one point or another. You might want to check on that. I don't really have a company that I'm going to recommend for termites in Tampa Bay right now. Few that I've worked with, I don't think they're as good as they were. I think they, I'd recommend them, and then people would call me back and say, hey, I had problems. And they weren't real happy about treating the problems. They kind of sidestepped it. So that's unfortunate. I don't have a company that I can recommend right now for termites. It is unfortunate, because in the old days, I liked the original. Bingham was great. I knew the original founder and owner. He was great, and his son was great. After that, not so much, not in my opinion. So I would say that, we're here, of course, to help you. I don't have a nursery. I'm looking for a good nursery I can recommend, for general plants. I recommend Janae for tropical fruits down in St. Pete, down off Central. I used to recommend a nursery off 49th Street, but, it can't be just a one-way street, so I'm not recommending them anymore. And they probably are doing well enough now, they don't really need that. But all things change. All things cycle. And I maintain when things do get bad, or when things are good, you still ought to have some kind of a marketing plan going. Advertising is important. Now, lately I've been adding some wood chips to my soil. I've been buying some soil. I think last time I bought some granny soil. But I've also bought other type as well. And I usually amend it with either perlite or wood chips or something to make it lighter if you're using a peat-based product. A lot of our peats are going to be pretty acidic, so you may want to check your pH out. And what is your pH? It's the acidity or alkalinity of your soil. It should be about 5.5 to 6.5, slightly acidic. Most of our native sand, remember at one point Florida was covered with water, and so we had a lot of shell out there. Because at one point where you're standing now, we were probably covered by, many feet of water. And Florida did not look like Florida does today. And if you don't think so, dig down a little bit, wherever you're at, and you're probably going to find some seashells and other things down below that have been here and were here a long, long time ago. So things change. And speaking of that, climate has too. We go, the climate's changing. Well, yeah, it probably has. This world was at a state many times throughout this world's history that you couldn't have lived here. We had a lot more CO2 than we have today. It's funny, now we make CO2 a poison. Well, I don't know if it's a poison. It's a gas. Oxygen is a gas. You need oxygen. Oxygen is made by the process of photosynthesis. Photo from the Greek meaning light, and synthesis meaning putting together. It's a process, and thank God we have plants to do that for us. We have plants, we have trees, we have things that can make us oxygen. And actually even some of the phytoplasm, some of the green algae and stuff that we have growing out there, and some of it is probably too much, but we are growing that. Probably with an increase of CO2, we're going to see an increase. Your plants like it. Your plants enjoy extra CO2. They actually get bigger and grow better with extra CO2. So in that respect, much of the world is greener today than it was many years ago because of an slight increase of CO2. And yes, we may be responsible for that, but the world is constantly changed. And if you think the world will not change, someday we'll probably, these idiots will hit the button. They'll we'll blow all the folks pretty much that we know of on this world off. And then I think God will start again and say, okay, guys, that or he'll just let it burn up and bring us on home. I don't know. That'll be interesting. But I probably won't be here, and you probably won't be here either. So we're here right now, of course, to talk a little bit about plants, trees, and shrubs and stuff. I check trees out almost every week. Usually I have my son actually get down and do the checking and the injecting. We find that if we can inject trees, I've had people call me and say, look, you injected our trees, they're thriving, they're living, they're doing much better. They've come out with full foliage. They didn't look that way last spring. So we know what you did worked. I think that is the greatest compliment that I can have from someone, is that we have done something that is good for them. I like helping the world. Now, I can't change everything, but I am a firm believer that if I can cut back on some of the bad guys and help put more nutrients into the tree, I can often help it do a much better job of growing. And you can say, well, out in the forest, they don't do much. Well, the forest is constantly having litter that's dropping and breaking down, and it is returning the elements back to the plants. Often in your own yard, you're vacuuming that up, you're getting rid of all that leaf, and understandably, but that material is not breaking down, so you are not refeeding those nutrients back to the soil. So anyway, I want you to stay tuned for our buddy Dr. Bill Handelman will be coming up, and I'm always surprised people aren't calling up going, hey, Doc, I got this symptom. I know when I had some problems, I called him years ago, and he was very gracious and helped to set me in the right direction. Let me mention to you to go out and smell the roses, go out and plant some plants. Look at some of the flowers, look at some of the trees in your neighborhood. Take time to look at the beauty that is there.
Having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com.
Tampa Bay's only conservative station. AM 860, The Answer. WGUL. Need to download the Answer Tampa app or listen online at theanswertampa.com. Tune in at Odyssey. Here's the latest from the Answer News Center.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington.